Hello, Professor.
Hey, Anna.
How are you today?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Okay too. Just
Yeah.
back from the hospital.
Are you okay? What's good? You don't
Uh,
have to talk about it if you don't want to.
my daughter had pneumonia, and they took her like actually she had like many days temperature. I tried to do by myself. I thought like, hey, maybe it's infection. Just like then I see her fever.
Fever.
Yeah, down then up, and like she had coughing, bad coughing. Then I realized like something wrong. I should go hospital. Before I didn't want go hospital because I know like have to sit in emergency five
Right.
6 hours just like wait, and they say you, hey, get Tylenol or ibuprofen.
Right.
Then I spent like me like I just waited, but when I see like nothing change it and I see like something wrong, then I went to the hospital and they say she had pneumonia. I don't know how it happens, but like yeah,
Is she,
everything
is
is fine. I,
is she doing better?
yeah, but she could sleep at least, like because I was so tired. She didn't sleep during day, during
Mm,
night, man, like all the time crying, like weak. She want to hold her all the time. Like I mean, like she only 3 years old, so
yeah.
but and like I see, and I didn't do anything. I probably I will drop this class, but I just want to stay and to hear like some get information because I can't like do anything like
Yeah. Right now.
many things like happens, and like I'm just like I don't know, I can't do because I'm so tired. I just want to rest, but
It's too
anyway.
much. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, and
Well,
like
well.
they get a they put the IV to her, like they keep it here. They don't want like she go like I thought like they will check and get just some like antibiotic. They did X-ray, all the stuff, all of like tests, like, and she doesn't want to do that, and like it's hard to like you have to hold her,
Yeah.
and like, but finally like we home, and like everything is like much better after like they get AV, they put
Yeah.
AV, right,
Yeah.
dropping like
IV. Yeah, IV.
IV, yeah. And like they get some antibiotic, she much better, but
Very,
still
very.
it's get like 1 week, like at
Yeah.
least like
Very stressful. Very stressful.
yeah, but what I can do, it's hard. I like I don't know, I have no idea. I guess like it's from childcare because I get her like 2 days per week to childcare when I help, like I go with like my parents to appointments or I do something for them. And I guess because I always work her well, and like I don't think so like how it happens, I have no idea.
Mm.
Just like but you never know. It's okay. I
Yeah,
glad
with
like
kids.
yeah, glad I went to the hospital because I mean like if I know before like it's serious, I could, but like many times like just baby has like fever, I went and I just like sit in the waiting room like for 6 hours, and they just like not. I mean like I can buy this, but you never know. When I
Yeah.
see like something wrong, then I went to the hospital.
That's there's an English idiom, better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. That's the, yeah, it's good to go and make sure everything's okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure I say hi. Marcel's here, Draga's here. Hey, Vincent. Hi, you guys. Just saying hi as you come in.
Hello, Professor.
Hi there.
How are
It's
you?
good to, I'm okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to see you guys after
yeah,
2 weeks. It's good to see you
yeah,
all.
yeah, thank you.
Hopefully you got a little time to read the book or catch up on assignments or do whatever you needed to do. And Marcia came in. Hi, Marcia. Perfect.
How is everything with you, Professor?
Yeah, not bad. My nephews are good. Everything's okay with my brother-in-law and his family. So there was some stuff going on there, but everything's okay. And Yeah,
That's good.
life goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just doing our best here. I'm excited for spring break. I'm excited for a week off. I'm trying to make sure I grade stuff really fast. Asha says hi in the chat. Hey, Asha. And Marcia
Hi.
says hi in the chat to everybody, to me and to all of our classmates. Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited for spring break and for the end of the semester. I think everybody needs a break. And again, we're starting to think and talk about next fall too. So I'm excited to hopefully be on campus and see human beings, you know? That'd be great.
So it's going to be on Canvas next semester?
We'll see. We'll see. I think there'll be more classes in person, right? Face to face. Asha says, how was babysitting? It was good, but they're crazy, you know, 6 and 4 and 2 years old. I was outnumbered, you know, but it was good. It was really, really good. And you guys know it was really good to be able to help my sister and my brother-in-law to help family, you know, it's really important. So I
Yeah,
love
you're
to
a
be
really
with
good
them.
person, Professor.
I do my best, you know,
I
you
used to have like brother or like somebody like you always like when I hear you like man like they're lucky they have you.
Oh, that's really nice. I think they agree.
Yeah.
I think they agree. But that's really nice of you to say. Thank you. Thank you, Ina.
You're
Who else?
welcome.
Sadaf
Because
came
he loves
in.
kids and it's really like I mean like not many like men to like saw like in my life like who loves really really like even like their kids they
Oh, we lost Ina. Right when she was saying such nice things about me, you know, okay. 6:32. Okay, we'll wait another few minutes. Maybe we'll have a smaller group. I already got text from a few people saying they wouldn't be able to be here today. So this is the downside to when you miss a week of class. Sometimes it takes people time to get back. But Rahimi's here. Hey, Rahimi, good to see you.
Hi, Professor. And
How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm happy to see you guys. Fauzia's here too. Just happy to see your names and hear your voices. Hey, Fauzia.
Hi, Professor. How are you doing?
Good. Really good. It's good to see
How
you
was
all
your
after.
How
It
was
was
your
good.
long vacation?
Yeah, long vacation. I know. Yeah, I know. Lots of time babysitting and lots of time grading. You guys probably saw lots of scores that I could open and publish in Canvas today. So yeah, wait, I gotta fix something. My microphone sounds a little strange. Give me 1 second here, you guys. All right, let's try that. Do I sound okay? Can you guys hear me? Rahimi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good. I was having some microphone problems. But yes, Fauzia, my long vacation, it's over, but it's good to see you guys.
How was your experience with kids?
It was amazing. It was really good. It was really good. It's hard. You guys know, it's hard work, especially when it's just one adult and 3 kids, man. You're outnumbered, you know, and this is a problem.
Oh, nice.
But it was good. It's really good. We'll start in just a few minutes here. I want to see if we can get more folks because I want to start to, I am going to do something I usually don't do. You know, today I want to start in small groups just to have you guys talk to each other a little bit, reconnect here after 2 weeks without seeing each other and start to talk about some of the ideas from the book and all the hard work that you guys did the last 2 weeks. So we'll get started in just 1 more minute.
I don't know, Professor. I'm thinking I have problem with the summarizing. So I don't know. I just read, I just search in Google. I don't know. I cannot connect my idea. I cannot
Yeah.
get the main point. I don't know. There is something wrong.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong, Fauzia. I think it's just new, right? You're practicing a new skill, summarizing big, long ideas, college level reading. So today is all about summarizing. I might as well show you. I saw Lasana came in, but I'll show you sort of what the agenda is, because she's on it, right? She's exactly where we're going today. So it is, what's today? Tuesday, March 29th, week 11 here as we continue through the spring 2022 semester. Like I said, it was really, really nice to see you all. So whether you're here with me in the Zoom or watching on the recording, hi, I missed you guys. So here's what we're doing. I have a short warm-up activity to talk about hyperfocus in general. I know Fauzia there was talking about the summary writing, but all of the summarizing that I asked you to practice was about hyperfocus, or the YouTube video with Chris Bailey, the author of the book. So we'll sort of do a general introduction to hyperfocus. Then I did want to show you an example of really successful response writing. You're gonna do a couple more responses this semester as well. Not many people have done this yet. I think only 4 or 5 people. So I think maybe people were not sure how to do it, or they were uncomfortable or something. So I want to show you response writing really quickly, and then we're going to go all in on summarizing an example. So when Fauzia was saying, ooh, this was difficult, I'm going to show you an example of a successful summary for the lesson that I assigned for you today. We'll talk about it, we'll analyze it, we'll look at the structure. But I think part of it is, what is difficult is just doing this for the first time, right? Writing longer things. Professor, I had a hard time with summarizing as well, especially lesson 18. Yeah, Sadaf, I'm going to show you an example of a successful lesson 18 tonight. But you're right, it is hard. It is hard. But we got lots of time to practice, and we go slow, so hopefully that helps, okay? But we'll talk all about what was hard and maybe what was not so hard in a moment here. Okay, but first, I've got, how many people? Well, Zabi came in, just saying hi to people who I didn't say hello to. I think I got everybody, and Draga's got her hand up. What's up, Draga?
Hello. I just would like to clarify if lesson 17 and 18 are actually the same thing. Do we?
No.
So first one is after watching the video.
Yes.
The other one is after reading book. So do we need to do the same thing? But of course.
Well, the difference is that and you guys can see my screen, right? Draga, can you see my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. So the difference here is in lesson 17, I'm asking you to summarize the ideas in the video. Now, certainly some of the ideas in the video are in the book, of course, right? That's the idea here, is so that I have you watch this video, you get a sort of general idea of some of the topics that he writes about in the book, okay? So lesson 17, you're summarizing the video. Imagine that you never started reading the book, right? Only the ideas and things that he talks about in the video. And lesson 18, I ask you to summarize very specific things here. So I'm not asking you to summarize the whole book or the chapter or the first 5 pages. I'm asking you to write summaries of these these 3 specific things: the 4 types of tasks, attentional space, and working with intention. Now, again, I'm going to show you tonight a successful example of what this looks like, but that's the difference, Draga, right? So lesson 17, only summarize what he talks about in the video. In lesson 18, you're summarizing these very specific ideas from the book.
Yeah, but both are summarizing, right? Both
Yes.
are same task.
Yes.
That's what I was confused. I thought I had to do lesson 18 differently. That's why I made big mistake. So same thing, we have to comment, we have to just rewrite everything what we heard, but not to quote.
That's right. Well, exactly. Yeah. Like I said a couple weeks ago, right? In a perfect world, summaries and paraphrasing, we don't have a lot of direct quotes. Now, I'm going to show you examples where you can use quotes at first, especially when you start to practice. That's going to be fine. But the most important thing to make sure is clear here is summaries. You don't say I, you don't say we, you don't say my opinion, you don't say agree. There's no room for your own opinion in a summary, right? The summary is exactly what the author writes about or speaks about in the video, right? Now, the response writing that we'll look at tonight is more like I think, I feel, in my experience, in my opinion. So in that way, Draga, yes, both are summaries, both are sort of just the facts, right? No personal opinion, no personal experiences. And for many students, the most difficult part of summarizing is first, identify the main idea in the reading, and then two, how do I put that in my own words, right? How do I organize that in my own words? How do I explain someone else's ideas, right? That's the skill there. Does that help, Draga?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I had a problem. If you were last week there, I would ask you, but I was not troubled. But thank you so much. Now I know what to do. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll look at it. And like I said, I think I saw Draga in the ESL lab, and I told her, you know, I'm going to show an example tonight, and I think the example will help. But it's still going to be hard, you guys. This next 1, 2, 3 weeks where we're practicing this new skill, right? Because right now, really, here's one of my very thing I do with my hands a lot. We're bringing it all together, right? 11 weeks, critical thinking skills, reading strategies, vocabulary building, starting to synthesize and create and make our own connections, right? Our own creative ideas with the ideas that we're reading about. We're kind of doing all of the skills that we practiced this semester in one time. So of course, it's new, it's big, it's difficult, but we still have what, 5 weeks? We've still got more than a month before the final essay, so you got time. We'll go slow and make sure we get practice. That's the best way to do it. Oh, excuse me. So, okay, before we talk about the summary, before we talk about very specific examples, right? I did want to do just a gentle warm up so you could talk to each other. I'm only going to give you guys 5 minutes or so to talk to each other, maybe a little more. But I just want you to talk about the book so far. Okay, let me fix this. I got an MLA issue. Professor Jeff, how dare you? This is just, I'm going to put you in small groups, maybe 3 people. So please, if you want to turn on your video, there's no recording in the breakout rooms. But if you don't want to, that's fine. But please, hopefully you can speak at least a little bit here. I just want you to talk about these 3 questions about hyperfocus in general, right? Don't worry about summarizing. We'll get there. We're going to talk about it together tonight. But first, what do you think about hyperfocus so far? Even if you only read 5, 10, 20, 30 pages, whatever you've read, what do you think? Next question, what is something new and interesting that you have learned in the book? And last question, what reading strategies have you used while reading the book? Okay, so breakout rooms, just to say hello and remember that there are other amazing, cool people in this class with you, and to talk about these 3 questions, okay? Any questions about what I want you to do in the groups? And I'll paste these questions into the group chat as well, but for now, write them down, take a picture, make sure someone has these 3 while I put you in your groups. Any question? Cool. I'm gonna get the breakout rooms ready. And then, like I said, maybe 5, 7 minutes max. I don't want to spend too much time, but I do want you to be able to talk to each other. It's been a while. Let's do 4 people. That's fine. All right, rooms are open now, and I will broadcast the questions for you. See you in a few minutes. Hey, buddy. So we're in small groups right now. Can you talk right now?
Hello, Professor. Yes.
Okay, I'll put you into one of the groups. We'll be there just for another few minutes, but they'll tell you. We're just sort of talking about hyperfocus. How much did we read? What do we think? Anything interesting? So they'll tell you what we're talking about.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll send you there right now.
Being recorded.
All right, welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right, I think we've got everybody. Yep, we're all back. So hopefully it was good to at least remember there's other really nice people in this class. I'd love to just talk for a little minute here. I'm going to stop sharing and make my face big, pardon me. But I'd love to hear what you talked about really for anything, but especially that question number 2, right? Anything new or interesting from the book that you thought, ooh, I didn't know that, or ooh, that was kind of interesting, because that's a good place to start when we think about summarizing, right? Remember, we have to understand and hopefully care a little bit about what we're reading if we want to write effective summaries or really write anything effective about it. So yeah, anybody, what did you share with your group, or especially that second question? I'd love to hear from 2, 3, 4 people.
Can I go first, Professor?
Please, Asha. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So what we discussed was the limit of time. It's interesting how, we can use it in our real lives. So before we start any tasks, we should make the decision and have that intention to do the task and realize and stop thinking about other stuff, like not get distracted by other things or waste any time. So get to the task and accomplish it.
Good.
With intention.
Was that new for you, Asha, or did that make sense, or had you seen this before? What'd you think?
Actually, this was Draka's idea, but yeah, I agree with her.
Oh, you're sharing for the group. Yeah, you're sharing for the group.
This is our group
okay.
discussion. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so one thing that group, I think that was group 3, you guys were talking about this idea of setting intentions, and connected to this idea of intentions is awareness, right? Being aware of what we're thinking, what we're doing. Yeah, good. Anything else, Asha?
Awareness and intention, yeah. And we believe that it's kind of useful for our lives. So except for a little bit more difficult vocabulary.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Again, this is I think this is a book that's kind of even easier to understand than some college writing. But yes, definitely we get new vocabulary. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great. Manisha, I see your hand. Thank you, Aisha.
Okay, you're welcome.
So Professor, we discussed about like what was interesting or what we learned from this 2 lessons. Like basically the video and the book was almost the same. Like you were talking about the hyper focus, and I shared my idea with my classmate that the more interesting part was like he describes his point of view about being productive. To be honest, before I thought that when you do a lot of tasks at the same time, it means you're being productive. Yes. But now, give me.
Yeah, of course. Manisha's getting help. She's got a tutor in the background.
Yeah. Everybody knows they're my.
I know. That's why no Zoom last week, because I would have had 3 tutors running around. Yes, please continue, Manisha.
So I read that in that book that he shared this idea that it doesn't mean that if you're so busy with your different tasks, you've been so productive during the day. If you plan something in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, you accomplish that, it means you've been productive. So one of the examples he shared that he says, even if you like plan to rest for the whole day and your body feel tired, if you do that, it means you've been productive for all day. That was the most like interesting part of the book. I really like that.
Amazing. Manisha is, I think you've got one of my favorite ideas in the whole book is what Manisha just said. So that's at the end or close to the end of chapter 2, right? And again, I'll show this to you when I show you my example summary. But Manisha said something I totally agree with, right? Very often when we think about productive and focus, we think work, more is always better. But definitely, like Manisha said, a big idea in this book, and this is connected to what Draga and Asha were saying there about intention, right? Well, if you set an intention, a goal, if you have a very clear thing you want to do, even like Manisha said, if it's rest, right? If you're sick, rest and get better, right? Maybe then you can say, well, actually, I was productive because I did the thing that I intended to do. And I, again, personally, maybe other people will agree or disagree. This is the opinion of the author. He says that in the book, right? But I can share for me, I totally agree. I think this is a really useful way to think about productivity, right? If I can, instead of thinking, ooh, I need to do 3,000 things, and who cares if they're good or bad or whatever, but if instead I can say, well, I want to do these 7 things, but I want to do them very, very well. I really like that. So I totally agree, Manisha. I love that part of the book. I really, really do. I really do.
Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Yeah, Draga, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just would like to tell you thank you for choosing this book for us. I think that book we have to keep for the rest of our life in every situation. Yeah, for whatever we do, it is very important. I believe that all of us have already used many of those recommendations from the book, but I like the idea to choose three things we would like to fulfill in every day. Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe he didn't mention, but I already think it is good to choose 3 things for the week, which is maybe a longer, or for the month, or for the year. So 3 projects. Okay, I think that's very, very good idea. And also put them in order according to consequences. So what is the most important? So if you have a due date for something, you have to do that, put it on the first place and avoid everything else unless you are done with first, second, and third, whatever the order is. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeff.
Absolutely, Draga. I mean, you know, as we keep reading, I'll talk about today, I'm really going to focus on chapter 1 and chapter 2, right? That's what lesson 18 was mostly focused on, right? Is those 3 topics, those 3 ideas that I asked you to summarize. You know, those are in chapter 1 and chapter 2. But Draga's idea there about having making a priority, and I think Asha just said that in the chat as well. Yes, Asha just said prioritize, right? Yeah, it's okay. You know, chapter 3, in chapter 2, he basically says, hey, working with intentions is a great idea, right? And then if you already read chapter 3, or when you do, and I talk about it next week, you'll see chapter 3 and 4 start to talk about, okay, well, how do I create really strong, useful intentions for myself? It's like, okay, so chapter 1, he's like, hey, here's what focus is and why it's important, right? Chapter 2 is like, hey, your attention is not infinite, right? You have to be aware that there's stuff going on and you can only focus on so much. So you should set intentions, right? That's kind of my 3-sentence summary of chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 3 is, well, how do I make good intentions? How do I set effective intentions for a day, a week, a month, right? So Draga's on it like usual, right? She's and as you continue in the book, you'll see his suggestions and his ideas. And then I'll see if there's anyone else who wants to share, and then I want to make sure we start to talk about writing next, because a lot of what we're talking about is, you know, thoughts that you had while you were reading. I don't know if everyone will agree when Draga says, oh, you know, this book, we should keep it for the rest of our life. Maybe you don't agree, maybe that's fine. But I do strongly believe, right? There are important ideas in this book. There are a lot of useful suggestions in this book. So you don't have to agree with every idea in this book, but I chose this book for a lot of different reasons. But one is, I really do think he's writing about an important topic that matters to all of us, right? Screen time, phone time, computer time, online class time, right? All of the things that fight for our attention, our family, our work, Of course, those are important, right? But especially I feel like in 2022 in the United States of America, in California, oh my goodness, right? It's the pace of life is so fast. There's always so much information and stuff happening. And I do think that this book offers some suggestions and ideas for how to feel a little bit less, I would say, overwhelmed, and hopefully feel a little bit more in control of where we put our attention, right? Now, as he says in chapter 2, it's not always possible, right? If you've got kids running around, they're going to take a lot of attention and you cannot control them. Maybe sometimes, but most of the time they're going to do what they're going to do, right? But those times in our life when we can have some control over where do we give our focus, where do we give our attention, that's a lot of what these first 2 chapters are about. And then when we connect that to Manisha's idea, which is, again, one of my favorite ideas in this whole book, is productivity doesn't have to mean, work 14 hours a day, it can mean accomplishing, doing the things that are most important to you, right? Like having clear goals, having a plan for how to do that, and then doing it, right? And I love that about this book, right? It's not like a get rich quick book or how to have the perfect life, right? It's sort of just how to feel more in control and more empowered with what you do. So it's one reason I really like this. So that's my really quick, that's my sort of thoughts about these first few chapters. Yeah, anybody else about any other ideas, just general ideas about the book? We do have a few more minutes before I show you my writing examples tonight. Anybody else want to talk about the book? Yeah, Draga, go ahead.
Yeah, being well organized means we'll be happy at the end of the day. How many times at the end, I like one sentence he wrote in the book. He said, being busy doesn't mean to be productive. So sometimes we are overwhelmed doing this and that. We have like space between doing this and that. And at last, at the end of the day, we are exhausted and not happy because we didn't fulfill our plans, are late, and we have to transmit it to another day, and then we are stressful. We might struggle, and then we might argue with our families members because we are stressed inside. So I think this is really, really important.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I agree. I mean, I totally agree. I totally agree. I think again, he does a really nice job. So vocabulary, of course. Yes, of course. And I still think he does a really nice job of presenting really serious science, right? All of the ideas in this book, he talks about research studies, right? He talks about evidence to prove, right? When he says, oh, your attention span is limited, he's not just like, ooh, this is my opinion, right? He's like, hey, research shows. What we understand about neuroscience, what we understand about research into people's attention, or there's that long footnote on working memory, right? Like the more we understand about how the brain works, the more we understand how, like Draga was saying, hopefully to set intentions and feel more fulfilled, right? And again, I do love this book because he writes about big ideas, right? Like neuroscience and scientific research, but I think he does it in a really nice and easy to understand way with a lot of vocabulary. Yes, no doubt about that. Anybody else before I show you some writing examples here? Anybody else? Cool. Well, we will, Rahimi, and you got something?
Yeah, I want to add something.
Please. Oh, Lasana, please.
It's not just about the idea, but when he say the research should he give the name of that research that show the idea of he's talking about?
Yeah. Yes, he does, in fact. And I'm going to show you, if you have your paper book, I'm going to go to the back in the paper book. It's on It starts on page 220. And let me show you, I should be sharing my screen now, and let me show you in the electronic copy that I like to use in the Zoom meeting. So here, again, remember, we talked very briefly about MLA formatting. You'll see that again in, what, 2 weeks, actually after spring break. So you'll see one more, we'll have one more workshop about MLA formatting. This that he is doing here, starting on page 219 in your paper book, and here on the electronic copy that I'm showing you, this says notes, right? This is not MLA formatting. This is not works cited, right? But this is a different style. This is much more common in England or in Australia. This is often called a way of doing footnotes. So footnotes, like you're saying, Lasana, when he says research shows, this is where he proves it, right? And in fact, in the electronic copy, he'll tell you where like the quote or the paraphrase or the summary starts, require conscious deliberation. And here's the quote, right? Wendy Wood, Jeffrey Quinn, and Deborah Kashey, Habits in Everyday Life. So here's the book or the article that he's quoting. And he does this, you see more as the chapters go on, you get much more research that he shows to prove his ideas. But you're absolutely correct, Lasana. This book is a research book, but it doesn't look or feel like a super, I would say like super intimidating kind of like heavy college research style. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really great question. So if you ever think like, wait, research shows, like, what's up, Chris Bailey? Are you just making this up? Go to page 219 and find that sentence, find that page, and he will show you where it comes from, right? That's what all this stuff is. That's what all this stuff is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, such a good question. Excellent, amazing, amazing question. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to talk more about hyperfocus. So there will be plenty of time to talk about hyperfocus when I show you the example summary. But first, I did want to show you an example of the response writing example. And remember, this that I'm going to show you is response writing. And this is for, I believe, lesson 12. Let me make sure I have the number correct. Yes, that is lesson 12, response writing 1. And this is where I was asking you to respond to one of the ideas or an argument or an idea in Arab past, American future, American present. I think I need to fix that. I'm sorry about that, you guys. So only 8 people have done this. So I thought, ooh, okay, maybe people need more help with this or are confused. And the 8 people who did submit this did a great job, right? Did a great job. But I wanted to make sure that we talk about it and I show you an example of a really, really successful response. And then hopefully that will help you feel more confident when you decide that you're ready to write that response. Also, what can I say? Don't remember, no due dates. Don't want to scare you. Don't be stressed. We have time, but don't get too far behind, right? Do not get too far behind now. Like lesson 12, as soon as you can, I highly recommend that you do it, because for the rest of the semester, I'm going to give you at least 2 paragraphs or so to write a week to help you really start to feel more comfortable with summarizing and paraphrasing, okay? So again, don't want to stress you, don't want to scare you, but I am taking some time in this class to show you this example response, because I hope that it will make you feel more comfortable to finish lesson 12. And then we have another response to do about hyperfocus that I'll show you in Canvas. Sadaf, please.
Yes, Professor. I haven't done the lesson 12 yet, but I have got 0 mark.
Oh yeah, that's like an excuse me. That's because I was grading all week long. If you have a 0 on something you didn't submit yet, you can still submit it. As soon as you submit it, I will look at it. Well, not as soon as, but when you submit it, I will look at it and give points. But it's just so that when I sit down to grade, like I think I've said this before, it's just, I sort of say, okay, these 3 hours are my grading time, and I'll just grade whatever's there, but you can absolutely still submit it for points, Sadaf, and I hope you do.
Okay, I was so
Yeah.
confused. Should I do it or I just got 0 mark?
No, that means you've probably been fast all semester. I've been doing this all semester long, and I think I've made an announcement about this 2 times, maybe before. Yes, if you, and I'll say it again, you, anyone with me or in the recording, if you have a 0 on a lesson that you did not do yet, still do it. I will look at it. As long as you give me something before the end of the semester, I will look at it and give you as many points as I can.
Thank you, Professor.
Of course, of course. And like I said, hopefully looking at this example will help you feel more comfortable about doing it. Okay, so I'm going to start to, well, I am sharing my screen. Let me find my example here. This is a student example. I am not going to include the student's name. If they want to share, they can, but I'm just going to read through it and tell you why I think it is exceptional, right? If the word that you see me use in my rubrics, exemplary, right? This is an example of an exemplary response. This is a sort of 20 out of 20, right? So remember, just to go back to the assignment, here's what I asked you to do. At the end of Arab past, American present, Alwan writes that the naming and sharing of our history can help bring about a better understanding of who we truly are. Do you agree or disagree? Use one example from the story and one example from your own life to support your opinion, and 500 words. Okay, so agree or disagree, use an example from the story and an example from your life. That's it. That's the assignment. So here's an example of how to do that very well. MLA formatting, of course, always. Okay. I agree with Alwan when she says that, quote, naming and sharing of our history can help bring about a better understanding of who we truly are. Every person has a conception of who they really are, where they come from, and what is the history of their nation. However, the challenging level is to transfer these conceptions, traditions, and cultures to the next generation while you are an immigrant yourself. In my opinion, Alwan's advice has 2 applicable points. Eliminate the misunderstanding and wrong beliefs about a special nation, and help our next generation to have an understanding of their ancestral identity. Okay, right away, I'm going to just talk about why this is so effective. So first of all, the very first words here are I agree. So this author has a very clear opinion in their response. They make it clear and obvious right away, right? Secondly, we've got a nice short little introduction paragraph, right? We don't, and with a clear break. There's a clear introduction of agree or disagree. The author chose to include the quote from the prompt. Totally, that's great. Gave a general sentence here, right? This is just kind of about like general ideas like concepts, traditions, and cultures. But then here's where I think we start to have a really, really effective response. I've got 2 specific reasons that this student, this author, agrees with Alwan. In my opinion, Alwan's advice has 2 points. Eliminate misunderstandings and wrong beliefs about a special nation, and help the next generation understand their ancestral identity. Almost immediately, my teacher brain goes, okay, so that means 1 paragraph will be about eliminate the misunderstanding and wrong beliefs, and another paragraph will be about the next generation understanding ancestral identity. And this is right away in the very first paragraph, right? The author includes specific things, specific reasons that they agree with Alwan, okay? So right away, happy teacher, happy teacher. I'm gonna keep going, save your questions, we'll talk about it. And remember, spelling and grammar stuff from student examples, we don't talk about that. Let me focus on that. So as I said, the way that this is set up now, the thesis statement gives me 2 clear, specific reasons that they agree. And let's look at each paragraph now. Okay, So the first one, now here I know what this author is talking about. We're referring back to this first two reasons, reasons that they agree. So the first one is that by showing folklore and history, people can change the wrong beliefs and misunderstand opinions or thoughts about a special nation. Great topic sentence, clear idea, repeating some of the ideas that this student already introduced in the thesis, and then they switch to the first person, right? I think the media has an incredible effect to support the wrong beliefs because unfortunately, news channels consecutive cover disasters, wars, and violence. Other social media is a good way to spread false or true news, rumors, and incidents. In particular, I was born and raised in a neighboring country. All I could watch and hear from the news media about Afghanistan was killing, explosions, harassment, poverty, and starvation. My imaginations of my own country were nothing but a dilapidated land with homeless people. However, when I went to Afghanistan after my marriage and lived there for 11 years, I found out what a beautiful culture and traditions we have. I can't forget that when I was talking on the phone with my sister, she asked me, "Are there any kinds of pasta or gummy bears for your daughter?" Suddenly, I felt very sad for my country because all the political situations, wars, and problems haven't allowed anybody to see the real Afghanistan, right? Just fantastic, right? Very fantastic, real interesting personal examples. But of course, those personal examples are directly related to the thesis and directly related to agree and disagree, right? Here, this author is talking about going back, right? Returning, or if we go back to the original quote, right? Understanding their history, learning their history to understand who they truly are. And that's exactly what this student is doing when they return to Afghanistan and their perception, their opinion is changed by reality, right? So again, the personal example is directly related to the idea in the thesis statement, and the author included this in the thesis statement, right? So why do they agree with Alwan? Well, understanding your history can eliminate misunderstanding and wrong beliefs about a special nation. That is exactly what this first body paragraph is about. Okay, next paragraph. And remember here, my teacher brain is expecting help our next generation have an understanding. So this is what I'm going to be looking for. Let's see. The second point is to help our next generation to have an expectation of where they truly are from. Oh yeah. Again, my teacher brain is very happy with this structure here. Unfortunately, immigration is like a barrier that doesn't allow immigrants to keep their traditions and habits. At first, food and style of living changes smoothly. Then culture, clothes, and beliefs are eliminated through the years. It's like what Alwan went through. After decades, what was left of her Arab grandfather was only an Arab last name and a dimmer Arab identity. Alwan's belief about the view of what we are told and what we are not told, but the things that we can see or feel remind us that the stories about our previous descendants are not enough. If we speak our own language at home, keep small things which relate to our traditions and cultures, and try to transfer it to our next generation, we help our children from identity bewilderment. As a matter of fact, the mother language is the most valuable heritage we have, which makes a bridge from the changed present us to our real us. Although it is hard to speak it with our American children, it's the first priority to have them learn it. Again, extremely clear topic sentence that is very directly related to the thesis statement. And just like I asked you to do, which is include one personal example and one from the story, well, here this student chose to talk about the example from the story, right? Including the prayer rug, some furniture, an Arab last name. And then we do get some more about this author's opinions and feelings, but we don't have a super specific personal example. That's fine here, right? Because in the instructions, I said, give me a personal example, give me an example from the story. Last paragraph, and then we'll be ready to talk about this. All in all, this is like a classic conclusion, right? In summary, to conclude, all in all, At the end of the day, whatever it is, right? All in all, the nation's history and identification are in our own hands to transfer to our kids and people around us. It's in our own hands what we bring in our foreign neighbors' minds, harshness and explosions, or delicious food, beautiful Afghan grand dresses, and traditional dances. It's in our own hands when our children visit their parental homeland for the first time, find it interesting, venerable, and not grotesque and pointless. Again, I love this last paragraph. It's short. It's only a few sentences. It kind of summarizes some of the deeper feelings and ideas from the essay, but it doesn't have a new argument or a new opinion or a new idea, right? It just sort of presents some of the things that this student already wrote about in a new and deeper way, right? So this, everybody, is as good as it gets, right? We've got some grammar stuff, right? If I were grading for grammar and sentence structure, we could take off some points here. But for this assignment, I was really just looking at response structure, word length, and examples, right? And this is perfect. This is really excellent, really, really excellent. So let's talk about this. Questions, ideas. Do you understand what I'm saying about why this is so effective? Let's talk. I want to hear from everybody here. Ideas, questions, concerns. Yes, please. I see Fauzia. I think Sadaf's hand was still up. So I saw Fauzia and then Ina. Fauzia, please.
Professor, my question is about the example. So should we include just one example from Has or one example from book or both examples? So I'm a little confused about it.
At least in the instructions, right? The real answer is for any class you ever take in college, Fauzia, just read the instructions very carefully. So use one example from the story, one example from your own life. If you, so I would say at least one from each, right? If you want to give more than one example from your personal life, that's great. But make sure you have at least one idea, one example from the book, one example from your own life.
Oh, so can you please show me the example of the one, this writer? So her example or his example here?
Yeah, it's in the second paragraph here, right? So this whole section in particular,
Okay.
And remember, the idea is that when you understand your past or your history, you can lose incorrect or bad, wrong opinions or ideas. That's the topic, right? That's the idea here. And then here we get, in particular, I was born and raised in a neighboring country. All I could watch and hear from the news media about Afghanistan was killing, explosions, harassment, poverty, and starvation. My imaginations of my own country were nothing but a dilapidated land with homelessness. And then the turn. However, when I went to Afghanistan after my marriage and lived there for 11 years, I found out what a beautiful culture and traditions we have, right? So these sentences are all about the author's own personal experience with, oh, before I learned about my culture or my own history or my own country, I had one idea, right? When I went there and learned, my idea completely changed, right? And that's the personal example that they use to show this. Does that make sense, Fauzia?
Yes, thank you so much. That's what I want to know about the example. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I think, and then I want to hear I see other people's hands, but I think it's excellent that Fauzia asked this about where is the example, but just remember, the thing that this student did extremely well is give a personal example here that was very directly related to a reason they agree with Al-Wan, right? The reason they agree is by understanding your history, people change wrong beliefs, right? Now, that was something that this author just did on their own. That was their own creativity. That was their own critical thinking, right? And so this example is wonderful, but in this type of writing, it's even more, like perfect because of what it does in the writing. What it does is it proves this idea that the author suggests, right? Hey, I agree with Al-Wan because, and here's an example from my own life to prove why this reason is correct, right? Yeah. Ina, I saw your hand, and then Parisa.
Yeah, you say everything. I mean, like the author wrote very clear, and like when he get example, he really argue like, and like he followed instruction, and he did like really good job. I mean, it's really clear and really nice.
Good. Yeah. So it made, so I hope so, Ina. And that you feel like you could see like all the ideas make sense for you.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. And I think a lot of what Ina is saying there is I'm suggesting to you all, because the structure here is so clear, right? They followed the structure that we've been learning perfectly. Agree or disagree, and then provide a specific reason why. Then in this case, the author provided 2 reasons, right? So paragraph 1 is all about reason 1. Paragraph 2 is all about reason 2. And then a little sort of short baby little conclusion, you know? So I think that when Ina says it was really clear, one reason it's clear is the structure is fantastic, fantastic. Parisa.
Yes, Professor. I have a question regarding my grade. If we didn't receive full point, can we resubmit again or no?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think I have it as 2 submissions right now. If people need more, that's fine. Of course, revising and fixing your own writing is, again, happy teacher. That's the best thing to do, right? That's one of the best ways to improve your writing skills. So absolutely, Parisa.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Anybody else, just ideas or questions about this example? Again, I really hope, I wanted to show it to you so that you understand what an effective response looks like. And then, like I said, hopefully you feel more comfortable and more confident completing this lesson soon, hopefully soon. So I know I'm kind of jumping around. We did hyperfocus, now we're going back to Al1, but I want to make sure the difference between summary and response is really clear here, right? So anything at all about response writing before I switch back to summary writing? Anybody? How about just give me a little yellow thumbs up if, was this helpful to see an example? Little yellow thumbs up?
Yes, it was very helpful for me.
Okay, good. Parisa says yes, Sadaf says yes, Ina says yes. Okay, good, good. Well, we can say thank you to our amazing student in this class who wrote this wonderful response. Great work, great work, great work. And like I said, use this as your template, you guys. You use it as your template. Ina says, thank you. Yeah. Okay, good. So yeah, more people just saying it was helpful. Excellent. Well, hopefully then the next thing I have for you will also be helpful since it's more examples. Okay. But before I do want to wake up just a little bit, hear your voices. So I'd love to hear from, again, just a few people. So now you've completed, hopefully, tried to, lesson 17 and lesson 18. Before I show you this example here, I just want to talk for a few minutes as a big group. What did you find difficult about summarizing? And what did you find easy? Right? What was good? What was bad? What was hard? What was easy? I would just love to hear your own ideas, opinions, and experiences. So tell me, what was hard? What was easy? Fauzia, please.
For me, Professor, I will start with difficult. So
Okay.
So I don't know how to start. I don't mean that so my problem was, so I don't know what to say. I started with high, started with V, and he suggested E had wise. So I don't know that. So how to start from the first? So that was my problem. And about the word count. So the word count was a little challenges for me, because you just mentioned, like, you just specified the word count. But for me, for summarizing, it was like I can summarize this video about 2-3 sentences.
it was like, I don't know, where should I get the main point to just
Yeah.
put it in my writing. Yeah. And I did not see, so for the other option, for the easies, I don't have any idea about that, because I had a lot of difficulties.
Good, 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 good. Yeah, Fauzia gave us a great list. We've got a good list to start with. I don't know how to begin. I said that wrong. Then Fauzia mentioned pronouns specifically, right? I or we or he or whatever. And then Fauzia said the word count was difficult. And I do think part of word count is connected to this idea of what should I include? What should I not include, right? Like, of course, a 3-sentence summary is going to be much easier than a 3-paragraph summary. So yes, so word count, how long, what to include, what not to include. Absolutely, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Draga, please.
I don't know if you had a chance to read my lesson 17. So that one was very easy to me. It was easy to me, but I don't know if I wrote it well. So I think we just have to listen or read carefully and see what is important, to emphasize it, to explain by our own words. I think that's it.
Cool.
For me, it was not difficult at all, the first one, but the second one was because I thought it was not a summary, the same like lesson 17.
Yes, I do think that watching a 15-minute video, summarizing a 15-minute video is much easier than summarizing 2 chapters of a book. Yeah, I agree. Sadaf, please.
Yes, Professor, it was difficult for me, lesson 18, because I was so curious that I don't know, should I write the same idea that the author wrote in the book, or should I change it? Should I paraphrase it? Or I was so confused on that.
Yep. Great. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Lasana, please.
I have a question about the structure of the summarize.
Yeah.
And the second is,
yes, second.
Yeah. The main idea, or I can say the main idea of each paragraph, we have to talk to give our supporting idea to the main idea of each paragraph, or or we have to include the supporting idea from the books or from the text.
Oh, great question. Great. Yes. Should I include the examples that the author gives in the book? Again, I was talking about this with Draga in the lab. I've got examples of that in the essay I'm going to show you, but yes, thank you. I definitely want to talk about that, Lasana. Yes, 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 yes. And I think Lasana's point there also was, again, repeating just what should I include? That's this idea about finding the main idea, the supporting detail, like, you know, what do I include and what don't I include, right? That is, I think, the hardest thing. I see Draga's hand again, but first, Marzia in the chat says, paraphrasing was very hard for me. I couldn't use any in my summary of hyperfocus. Yeah, it's true. I told you guys, I think paraphrasing is the most difficult skill that we learn and practice in this class. It's hard for native speakers, so it's extra hard for you guys, language learners. It's extra hard. Yeah. Draga, new hand?
Yeah. For me, it was difficult to know if I really had to write 3 paragraphs each, or I can have like paragraphs within one main paragraph. So it was my question. And I didn't know if I had to write like for each paragraph a title.
Okay.
Like paragraph 1, paragraph 2.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was just something not very much important, but yeah.
This is kind of structure questions, right? And I only talked about structure really quickly. And again, anybody else? Anybody else? I was going to start talking there. I want to make sure I give people more time. Because you know, once I start, it can get dangerous. Okay, my turn. Okay, so remember, this is in many of the, I think this is in at least 2 other PowerPoint slides, but just a quick review of summarizing, right? When do we do it? We want to emphasize the main idea from the text. We want to give a short overview of the text, and we do it when we have not been asked to give your opinion or original ideas. Now, how do we do it? Understand the main ideas, right? Focus on the main idea and keep it short. I've said this a few different ways, but in terms of structure, the best way to do it really is follow the structure of the original text, right? Do it in the order. If you're summarizing page 2, 3, and 4, well, the first part of your summary should be about page 2, the middle should be about page 3, and the last should be about page 4. Now, you're going to see that in the example summary that I have for you tonight, but that's the basic information for structure. Different classes, different teachers, they might ask you to organize a summary essay in different ways. Maybe they do want a header, like Draga was saying. Should I have a title? Should I have a header? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The example I'm going to show you today is not going to break it up into headers and all that stuff, but you'll see how the paragraphs get organized, right? And then in terms of in-text citation, quoting, paraphrasing, summarizing, no matter what, you do want to use an in-text citation at the beginning of the summary. And then maybe you do want to use a few. I wanted to give you examples here. So I'm going to show you how you can introduce some quotes or some ideas. But generally speaking, you know, the rule that in a lot of ESL textbooks, right? The rule is like, don't quote in your summary. Don't quote, only paraphrase, don't quote. I mean, especially for multilingual people, you guys, I am okay with you guys having some quotes, but what we can't do, we can't have a 750 word summary, right? That was the assignment for this. I'll show you the example here as I switch over now. The assignment was 750 words, and I agree, that's a lot of words, and I'm pushing you, right? I'm pushing you guys a little bit with this one. So if you have an assignment where the teacher says, write me 750 words, well, what we cannot do is have half of those words, right? Or maybe 300 words are all quotes. You're like, oh my God, I can't write 750 words. I'm just gonna find like 9 quotes and put them in my summary. Well, that's why a lot of teachers say, don't quote, right? A short quote that really explains an essential idea. Okay, I'm okay, that's fine. But that's often, honestly, why a lot of teachers will tell you, don't quote in your summary, don't quote in your summary, don't quote in your summary. Yes. And then the last point, this is connected here, right, is use your words. Use your own words as much as you can. That's kind of what I was saying there, right? Okay, questions about this? Again, I've got, I think, 2 other videos that you can go back and review. I've got links for you guys to watch about summarizing. So, but any questions about this basic info that we've gone over together? Draga, please.
Okay, when we quote in the beginning, it doesn't mean that we will talk only about that quotation. So we quote something, but later we can add different ideas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to show you. Yes, I'm saying that this point about introducing it at the beginning, it means at the very beginning, you do need to introduce the title, author, and some kind of page number, right? Some kind of citation to show that at the beginning, to say, hey, this is, I'm talking about an idea that I read in this book, this essay, this whatever. So that's what I mean at the beginning. But yeah, you're right, Draga. If you're going to connect to, you know, the 4 types of tasks, are different than attentional space, right? So absolutely, you might have a different quote or paraphrase from a different page later in your summary. But what this point that I'm making here at the beginning is, at the beginning, author name, some kind of MLA citation in text to let the reader know, especially at US College, right, where we are obsessed with plagiarism. Are they cheating? Are they stealing? Did they copy? Whatever. If you have an in-text citation, you're letting the reader know, hey, this came from this other book, and I'm giving proper credit to the author, right? So that's what that point is about there, Draga. Does that make sense?
Yes, Professor Jeff, one more question.
Please.
Does every paragraph of those three should have its quotation, or only first one for all three?
Only the first one for all three. And in the example, though, you'll see sort of how we keep connecting back to the title of the book and the author's last name. There's no perfect rule for this. Like if I could tell you, okay, it's like in our reading about college, it's like in the lessons about college level reading, right? About how, unfortunately, this is a little bit not like a math equation in terms of when do I say the author's last name? When do I say the book title? When do I use the an MLA in text? Okay, if it's a new paragraph, do I have to do it in the second sentence? It's not, if there were one rule, I would teach it to you, but instead we're just gonna look at examples, right? The one, no matter what rule is, before you start summarizing big ideas that aren't yours, make sure you put a citation at the beginning right away. And then the rest is kind of like learning how to what? Learning how to go, connect and reconnect to the author's name and the ideas from the textbook, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I think Draga's question is a good time to switch over to the example. We ready for the example?
So, Professor.
Please.
Yeah, Rahimi, please.
Yeah, in lesson 18, here is 3 paragraphs. Some paragraph is shorter than other. Just you mentioned write at least 250 words for each of them. So just I realized that paragraph 2 is much shorter than the third one. So what if we write less than 250, if we write for that third paragraph like 300, 400 words, it's gonna count it? Or
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, and again, you guys, in real life, I hate the word count stuff, right? We have to do it because we're in school, right? Like the school says, Jeff, you need to make your students write 6,000 words, right? That's my job, is to make you guys write 6,000 words of graded writing. So the word count really is just to make sure students have some minimum. But you're right, Rahimi, if you feel like, well, okay, attentional space is the most important of these 3 ideas, and you want to give more time, more words in your essay to that topic, that might be totally appropriate. Yeah, that might be totally appropriate. So if you submitted lesson 18 and you have 200 words in paragraph 3, I'm not upset at all. I do want 750 total, again, because it's my job to make you write this many words. But I'm not as worried about each specific paragraph. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yep. Word count is like here's another idiom, right? It's like a necessary evil. It's got good and bad things, but because we're in a school with grades and all that stuff, it's required. You know what I mean? Like it's required.
When we write the assignment, we just think about the word counts.
I know.
Yeah.
Eventually, inshallah, si Dios quiere, if it is God's will, eventually you will not think about the word count, right? If you keep going at university, it won't be like, oh my God, how am I going to get 500 words, right? Because in other college classes, they'll just say 2-page essay, 3-page essay, 4-page essay. But in this class, many students maybe have never written that much. So I'm trying to help you practice. Okay, here's what it feels like to write 200 words. Here's what it feels like to write 500 words. Here's what it feels like to write 700, right? So that's part of my goal. That's part of my goal with the word count, because I know you're right, Rahimi. And then hopefully, eventually, it's not like, oh my God, it's, you know, word count won't be the only thing you're thinking about. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's look at the example. Okay, so here the instructions were pretty basic. I was trying to keep it very basic. And again, just to give you a nice first time to practice a difficult new skill, right? So instructions, read page 1 through 49 of Hyperfocus, or you can listen to my audio recording. Then write 3 summary paragraphs. Each paragraph needs to be at least 250 words. So you'll write at least 750 words total. So paragraph 1, summarize the 4 types of tasks. Paragraph 2, summarize what Bailey writes about attentional space. And paragraph 3, summarize why Bailey says it is important to work with intention. Here we go. What you'll notice really is that those 3 things are basically a summary of chapter 1 and chapter 2. And that was not an accident. I'm asking you to practice doing that. So here's my example essay to show you. Again, MLA formatting, my name, teacher's name, class title, class number, and the due date, right? I just titled this Summary of Hyperfocus, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, okay. So in the first 2 chapters of the book, Hyperfocus, author and productivity expert Chris Bailey writes about how people can focus their attention in order to be more productive and successful in their lives. According to him, one way for people to be more productive is to become more aware of how they spend their time and then actively choose where to direct their attention. Further, he argues that there are 4 types of tasks that we may choose to focus on: necessary work, unnecessary work, purposeful work, and distracting work. He claims that necessary work and purposeful work are productive, while unnecessary work and distracting work are unproductive. However, he also suggests that people need to consider whether or not a task is attractive or unattractive as they choose where to direct their focus. Okay, what am I doing in these first 2 sentences? What am I doing here? I'll zoom in so people can see.
I only realized I expected you to start with quotation, but I don't see it.
It's all good. It's all good. What am I doing? What did I do though here, Draga?
So you just wrote in your own words.
True.
Regarding first paragraph.
Good. Good. Parisa, you got an idea you want to add?
Yes, I think it's like general information.
You got it. You got it. So Parisa is saying, I'm introducing sort of some of the ideas that were in the video, right, Parisa? This is kind of like the basic idea of what the book is about, right?
Yes.
And I also introduce what?
Yeah.
I introduce the book title. What else do I introduce?
You introduce the chapters. Yeah, it's like it's like a background information about the chapter.
Yep, I say chapter. In this example, I specifically say the chapters I'm going to talk about. I say the title of the book, and then what do I say after that?
You wrote number of page.
Yeah, well, we'll go there. We're going there for sure, Draga. But I want to make sure in this first sentence, I'm sort of saying, okay, first 2 chapters of Hyperfocus, author and productivity expert Chris Bailey. So in the first sentence, even before we get to the in-text citation, which I do have down here, right? I do, but I say where, you know, in a full book, unless you're doing a summary of the entire book, that might be 10 pages or something, right? You can specify the information that you're going to discuss, right? On page whatever, in the last chapter, in the analysis section of the research paper, whatever, then the book title, the author. So right away, I'm introducing this information to the reader. And then, like Parisa said, I'm giving general information. I don't start right away with those 3 ideas that I want to focus on. I give background information. Parisa said it beautifully. General information, background information before I just, boom, jump into the most important ideas. Now, again, you don't have to go too deep, right? This is not a long, I didn't write a ton here, right? Writes about how people can focus their attention in order to be more productive and successful in their lives. According to him, one way for people to be more productive is to become more aware of how they spend their time and then actively choose where to direct their attention. This is kind of like the main idea of chapter 1 and 2, right? This is a really basic, this is, I think, I forget who was it. Maybe Fauzi was like, I could summarize the video in 2 sentences. This is kind of like that, right? This is what he's writing about. This is what he wants us to do. And then after I give this general introduction, here's Draga's page number, right? Now I introduce the very specific things that I asked you all to write about, right? So I say further, he argues that there are 4 types of tasks that we may choose to focus on: necessary work, unnecessary work, purposeful work, and distracting work, page 19. Now notice here, I didn't put this in quotes, I didn't put it in direct quotations, but I also did not feel like I need to paraphrase these phrases, right? Necessary work. I didn't call it required tasks or unessential jobs, right? You don't need to paraphrase some of these most important vocabulary words from the book, but you also don't need to put them in direct quotes. As long as you give a page number, you're fine. The reader is going to understand that you're making a reference to the text, okay? So after I give a general introduction to the title of the book, the author, and some basic ideas, then I introduce the very specific thing I'm going to summarize, and I give a page number, right? And here, I'm not doing any kind of, remember, I was grading the lessons for synthesizing. I'm not doing any synthesizing yet, right? I'm just listing facts, right? He argues there are 4 types of tasks we choose to focus on. I list them, and then I keep describing what he does. He claims that necessary work and purposeful work are productive, while unnecessary work and distracting work are unproductive. However, he also suggests that people need to consider whether or not a task is attractive or unattractive as they choose where to direct their focus. Okay, so this is what I chose to do in my first paragraph. You guys understand what I did here and why I did it before we go into the next paragraph, where we'll talk about, where you'll see the 4 types of task in much more detail. But is it clear what I'm doing in this paragraph? Yeah, Liz.
Yes, my question is may obvious, but the summarize is like essay?
I mean,
the summarize of
yeah.
each chapter?
Yeah, it's a great question. The real answer, Liz, is in a college class, every essay you write will include some kind of summary, right? Now, in a literature class, a teacher might say, summarize this short story, summarize this book, right? What happened? But oftentimes, if you're asked to do a kind of response, well, you might need to do some summarizing and some personal responding, right? Like all college writing is going to require this summarizing skill. So it's kind of rare that that a teacher will say only summarize, you know. This is a 100% summary essay, but that's the way I do it in this class to help you practice this skill, because this skill is so important that you use it in all types of different essays, right? Does that make sense, Liz?
Yes, yeah. Thanks.
It's a skill that you will use in any college class for the rest of your academic career, right? Even if it's not a 100% summary, right? Even if it's like summarize and then give your opinion, right? Or what did the author mean when they said blah, blah, blah? Well, to answer that question, what did the author mean? You're going to have to summarize what they said, and then you're going to have to use critical thinking and analysis to explain what that author meant, right? So the summarizing skill is so important. That's why we start teaching it in ESL, even at 30, 40, 50 level. Right now, we're just summarizing much longer and more complicated ideas. Draga, please.
So we can choose whether put his own words in quotation or not.
Yes,
So
and
we
I'll
can
show
do
you.
this
I've
way
got
or, yeah.
I've got lots of examples in the next paragraph. Yeah, you get the power. You get the power. Just don't abuse the power, right? Don't use too many quotes. That's the basic rule for summarizing at this 325 level, right? You can choose, but choose with intention. There's our word, and don't choose too many, right? Parisa, please.
If we use the 3 separate titles for each paragraph, is it true?
For this class, no, right? For this class, no. For other classes, you won't need to do that. But for this class, I'm not worried about it. Like that's like Liz's question, right? This is not an essay. I'm showing you an example of like, you know, kind of like in a perfect world, right? I just want you to see what a really successful example looks like. But I'm not asking you to do this, you know, yet. I'm asking you to notice, see, and try and, you know, as we move forward, you're going to kind of copy this style. You know, that's why I'm showing it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Please. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next paragraph just to make sure I'm gonna go to the next paragraph. Keep your hands up, but I do want to read the next one. Okay, so I'll read the last sentence and how I connect between the two paragraphs. So, however, he also suggests that people need to consider whether or not a task is attractive or unattractive as they choose where to direct their focus. In chapter 1 of Hyperfocus, Bailey argues that distracting work is attractive but unproductive, like checking social media apps or surfing the web. People often enjoy doing these tasks, but the work often distracts them from focusing on their real goals. Necessary work, on the other hand, is very productive, but it is not attractive, and includes things like work meetings or writing important emails. As Bailey notes, people usually have to force themselves to do this type of work, even though these tasks are important and must get done. The most useless of all 4 tasks is unnecessary work, and these are tasks that are neither enjoyable nor productive. Sometimes called busy work, these are the type of tasks that make people feel busy without actually accomplishing anything. Finally, Bailey suggests that people should focus their attention and energy on purposeful work, tasks which are both enjoyable and productive. These are the tasks that people, quote, are put on earth to do and can lead to, quote, the largest impact in the world. And there's Draga's questions about getting quotes in there. Okay, what did I do in this paragraph?
Okay, so I had a difficult time quoting numbers of pages all the time, but now you see that you simply wrote in chapter 1 and then you just write in your own words, not writing all the time which page is the quotation or you talk about. So now it's very much more clear to me. And also, I'm now confused. So the lowest sentence you have on the screen, these are the tasks when you quote. So I thought that before quotation, there must be comma, but I don't see it in your...
These rules, honestly, Draga, these change every year. I think sometimes you'll say, if you start the quote in the middle of the sentence, put the comma. I'm going to get more information about this, Draga, because honestly, MLA rules change every year, and it gets. Let me check this and make sure I give you a good answer next week, because I swear, sometimes you see this, sometimes you see this. So let me do my own research and make sure I give you the perfect answer for March 2022, April 2022 next week. What else? What else do we notice? What am I doing in this paragraph? What am I summarizing in this paragraph? Did everybody go to sleep?
Examples, you mentioned the examples.
Good. Now, and did I mention every example that Bailey includes in the book or only a few?
No, just a few.
Now we're talking. This was like Lasana's great
Yeah.
question, right? Yes. Yes. In fact, you see, and for distracting work, I do include things like social media and surfing the web. So I include 2 small examples when I talk about that. And same thing, necessary work is very productive, but not attractive, like work meetings or emails, right? But so I do give examples for, let me make sure I'm clear here, for distracting work and necessary work. But notice here, the most useless of all 4 tasks is unnecessary work. And these are tasks that are neither enjoyable nor productive. Sometimes called busy work, these are the type of tasks that make people feel busy without actually accomplishing anything. So in the book, Bailey does give examples of unnecessary work. I believe he says rearranging paper on your desk, right? Or organizing your email inbox or something like this. Now, that's in the book on page 21, as we know from this in-text citation. But I don't include those examples, right? And even down here, in the examples of purposeful work, he gives many, right? I think he says like if you're an artist, then probably your purposeful work is when you're making your photography or your art, or if you're a musician, your purposeful work is when you're playing music or studying music. So he gives lots of examples of purposeful work, but I don't include those here. Right now, I can hear all of you thinking, well, when should I include examples and when should I not? That's up to you, right? Like that's the choice you get to make. But as you can see here in a successful summary, you can include some examples, but you don't want to go over the top. You don't want to have in a paragraph like this, you don't want to have half of your summary paragraph be examples that the author gave in the original text, right? That is not a good use of your summary time. Does that help, Lasana, does that help answer your question a little bit about examples? I've got more in the next few paragraphs, but does that help a little bit?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions? Fazia says thumbs up. Other questions about this paragraph, or should I keep going?
I thought that it was supposed to be much, but it was supposed to include much more information. So
yes. This, as I said to you, Draga, again, Draga comes to the ESL Center. This is about writing less. This is about writing less. It's about how much essential information can you give to the reader in as few words as possible. That's what summarizing is. So it's not like, again, it's another reason that I have a bit of a problem with some of the ESL teaching at different schools, right? I think often when students go through ESL classes, they think, ooh, reading comprehension is the only thing that matters. I need to understand every idea. And then when I write, I need to include and prove that I understood every idea. And that's why we did those lessons 2 weeks ago, right? Which is, well, this type of writing, synthesizing, critical thinking, critical reading, is not the same as reading comprehension. Now, that's not what I want to be clear here. I'm not only talking to Draga. That's not specific to Draga, right? This is specific to a lot of ESL students who have gone through other classes where it's all about comprehension, comprehension, comprehension. Here, we're going to the next step, right? It's not just read it and prove that you understood. It's understand it and then make interesting connections, right? And Asha's answering, I just saw her in the chat from a few minutes ago saying, yes, exactly. This paragraph, I hope, clearly summarizes what the 4 tasks are, right? What the 4 tasks are, and talks about this idea of productive, unproductive, and attractive and unattractive. Now, again, I am not asking you or expecting you to be able to do this right now. This will take time, right? This will take time and practice. Never compare where you are, right? Remember, I was in school for a very long time. I spent like, oh my God, 4 years in undergrad, 2 years, well, like 4 years, because I went to school on weekends and at night for my first master's. Okay, so 4.5 years for my first master's, 3.5 years for my second master's, right? Like don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 40. You know what I mean? Don't do that. I don't expect you guys to do this yet. What I do expect you to do is look at my example, learn the structure that I'm showing you, and then try and copy it for the rest of the semester, right? So I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? Okay, I'm gonna keep going just to make sure I finish, because we got 30, yeah, we got just about 30 minutes. Okay. So again, I like to really highlight the transition, so I'll start here. So finally, Bailey suggests that people should focus their attention and energy on purposeful work, tasks which are both enjoyable and productive. These are the tasks that people, comma or no comma, are put on earth to do and can lead to the largest impact in the world. After describing the 4 types of tasks, Bailey introduces the reader to something he calls attentional space. Again, quotes here, this is an essential vocabulary word. So put it in quotes, cite it, that's fine, right? Attentional space is the phrase he uses to describe the, quote, amount of mental capacity that people have available to them at any given moment. He uses the metaphor of computer memory to argue that people only have a specific, limited amount of attention available throughout the day. Modern research into brain science and attention confirm that humans' working memory ability is fixed and that different tasks require different amounts of attention to be completed. Effective reading, for example, requires a lot of attentional space. According to Bailey, everything in a person's life requires some amount of attention. So it is important for people to be aware of what, this was teacher typo, of what they are doing and what is going on around them. I want to talk about, I forget if it was Parisa or not. Well, I want to go back to this question that we talked about, pronouns. Notice, what kind of pronouns am I using here? For example, when I say, everything in a person's life requires some amount of attention. So it is important for people to be aware of what they are doing and what is going on around them. What pronouns am I using here? First, second, or third person?
Third.
Thank you.
Third person.
This is another reason I chose this book. You get to practice changing the word, you know, the pronouns in the book are very often first and second person pronouns. When you're writing a summary, you're going to need to change it to the third person. If you didn't do this for lesson 18, not a problem. Now you know, right? Now you know. But for summaries, never first person, never second person, third person. In a more academic book, where the author is already using third person, it will be easier in the future, right? But again, I am a little bit, you know, part of it is my language teacher brain, where I do want you with this book to practice reading a sentence where the author is using second person, right? You do this, we do this. And then when you summarize or paraphrase it, you change it to third person, which is what we require in academic writing in a summary. Yeah, let me check the chat here. Third, Asha says third. Asha agrees, yeah. Okay, what am I doing here? Well, first of all, right away, after describing the 4 types of tasks, classic transition, right? You just say, hey, that thing I just wrote about above, after the author talks about that thing I wrote about in the paragraph right above this on the page, well, then he does this, right? And again, this is what I mean when I say mirror the structure of the original text. This is exactly what he does in the book, right? This is exactly what he does in the book. So first paragraph is about 4 types of tasks. Next paragraph is about attentional space, because that's the order he shows it to us in the book. Draga.
Yeah, you told us to mention only once his name, but now I see that you mentioned few times. So we can name his name few times.
Yeah, it's your base. Yeah. Oh, go. I'm sorry, Doug. I interrupted you. Please continue.
Sorry, my fault.
No,
so we can
fault.
also say the author or the author of Hyperfocus. So we can change, but we always underline something what is definitely towards him.
You got it. I mean, Draga, again, as usual, is on it. Your options here for talking about the author, as you see in my example, are basically author's last name, Bailey, pronoun, he, or the author. And this is what I mean, Draga, about this is a little bit like the art of it. You're just kind of trading, you're kind of just taking turns. Okay, 2 sentences ago, I said Bailey, so now I'm going to say the author or he. Okay, it's been a paragraph and I didn't use his name, so I can use his name again. But what we don't want is the author says, then the author does, the author claims, the author argues, we don't want all the author. And we also don't want he. And that's why you see I'm showing you a sort of variety, a mixture of author last name, the author, and the pronoun, right? Now, like I said, if there was a perfect rule where I could tell you, okay, always do Bailey, then the pronoun, then the, it's not like that. I think just you'll see my examples for the rest of the semester, so you get some feeling about, you know, how to use those 3 options as you write. But yes, that's your, that's an
the idea is not to be repetitive, but not to
exactly.
be
It's not
be
to,
boring as well.
exactly. And that's what pronouns are for anyway, right? So that we don't have to just say name over and over again. Anybody else? Question? So again, first I say, hey, I'm done talking about the 4 types of tasks. And then I introduce attentional space. After I introduce attentional space, please notice, what am I doing in this sentence here, you guys? This sentence right here. This is really important. What am I doing in this sentence?
You quote.
I quote, and I'm quoting because why? What's the function of this sentence in the summary?
Because he has a certain, how to say, amount, he called it this way, amount of mental capacity. So
good. Draga says called.
Yeah.
It's like
anybody else? Yeah,
definition
Party said.
it's like definition of attentional space. Yeah.
That's the word I wanted. Draga, you were on it, but Party said I was just looking for definition, right? In a summary, if I say summarize the 4 types of tasks, summarize attentional space, you have got to tell me what that definition, what is that, right? Okay, attentional space is very important. Bailey writes a lot about attentional space. We need to learn about our attentional space. Don't forget to give me a summary, give me a definition for what that key idea is, right? And again, this goes back to the idea that a summary is like imagining that you're offering something to a person who never read this book. Or imagine, like I said, hey, I saw a movie this weekend, you say to a friend. Have you seen whatever, new Batman? No, I didn't see it. Okay, then you give a summary to the person who didn't see it. When you do that, you summarize it in a way for a person who didn't see the movie. It's the exact same thing here, because we assume in a summary that our reader has no information, no knowledge. We can't assume, well, the teacher knows what attentional space is because he read the book. Okay, true, but you need to make sure that your summary includes the most important information. And the most important information from the book absolutely includes the definition of what attentional space is. So I'm just glad that Parisa said yes. This sentence is the definition. And again, couldn't be more clear. Attentional space is the phrase he uses to describe. And then like Draga says, I gave a quote here. Now, again, giving a definition for some of the most important vocabulary in a book, that's a great time to quote, right? That's a great time to use direct quote because it's clearly one of the most important ideas. So it's really important to make sure your definition of that idea is exactly what the book says, right? Is exactly what the book says. Yeah. Ideas or questions? I'm checking time. We'll finish. I'll finish. Anybody else about this paragraph? I'll keep going for time. If I'm going fast, forgive me, everybody. Okay. After introducing the reader to the basic definition of attentional space, again, notice exactly like Parisa was saying, I'm almost like saying to the reader, hey, reader, what I just did was define attentional space. Right? That's again why these first topic sentences are so important. Bailey then encourages people to become more aware of their own attentional space. He suggests that people should check in with themselves to become aware of what is taking up their attentional space, a process he calls meta-awareness. Again, another key word. I put it in quotes and give the page. To prove his point, he describes a research study which proved that people who are more aware of what they are thinking and feeling were able to more successfully focus on reading a detective story and successfully solving the crime they were reading about. Bailey also uses a series of visual representations to demonstrate the boundaries of attentional space and the relative amount of awareness required to complete, certain tasks. Ultimately, this meta-awareness will allow people to make conscious decisions about where they choose to focus their attention. And because people's attentional space is so limited, choosing where to focus can feel very empowering and lead to increased productivity. Notice another thing here. Very often, these final 2 or 3 sentences in a paragraph, these are like the synthesis, right? This is where I'm connecting ideas. Now, these ideas are in the book, right? But at the end of the paragraphs is really where I'm starting to make critical connections between these ideas, right? This sentence hopefully answers the question, like, who cares? Who cares about this? Who cares about meta-awareness and attentional space? Well, this explains, right? Meta-awareness, it's important because it allows people to make conscious decisions about where they choose to focus their attention. And why is that important? Well, because people's attentional space is so limited, choosing where to focus can feel very empowering and lead to increased productivity, right? So the end of these paragraphs is a lot, very often, where you see some of that synthesizing skill, right? Explaining, showing to the reader why these ideas are important, right? Why do we care? Why is the author writing about these ideas? Why is this the main idea in the book? I think I've got 1 more paragraph, 2 more. Okay. I'm gonna finish and then I'm gonna finish. I'm getting tired, but let's finish. Okay, and then I'll post this in Canvas. You can review it, anytime you want for examples here. So for Bailey, the concept of meta-awareness and choosing where to focus our awareness is essential. And he refers to this process as working with intention, page 39. Working with intention can help people become aware of where they are focusing their attention and then make specific choices about what they want to focus on. Bailey acknowledges that this is not always possible and that it is common for life, more typos from Jeff, to present unexpected surprises. However, he argues that there are other times when people should be able to notice that they're feeling tired or overwhelmed and then check in with themselves to better understand what is taking up their attentional space. The most effective way for people to avoid overloading their attentional space is to be very specific about what is allowed in. More examples here, or how to deal with examples. He provides a lot of examples and suggestions for how to do this. So I say he gives a lot, and then I only give a few. For example, he writes that listening to music while driving takes up some amount of attention space. So if a person needs to think about something important while they're driving, they should turn the music off and drive in silence. As Bailey points out, the best way to avoid attentional overload is to, quote, be more selective with what you put into your attentional space. And here's the end. Near the end of chapter 2, Bailey explains why learning about the 4 types of tasks, attentional space, and working with intention is important. He very strongly believes that it can help people be more productive. However, for Bailey, productive does not have to mean something cold, corporate, and over-focused on efficiency. Rather, it simply means that people successfully complete the things that are most important to them in their daily lives. That's it. That's your example.
Professor Jeff,
Yes, please.
I just realized that you, when you first time mentioned like something he created, like unexpected surprises. So first time you quoted and wrote the number of page, but in following sentences similar to that, you don't put in quotation, right? That's okay.
Yeah, and because I could do this too, Draga, like because this is the same page, I wanted to show you an example of this. This is the same page, right? 40 and 40. You could technically not include the page number. And then when the reader sees this in MLA formatting, if you have 40 up here and a quote with no page number, then the reader will understand that this quote is from the same page that you just included above. That's more just like small MLA formatting stuff, but that's why you see. So again, this is never wrong, Draga, like to include the page number twice is never wrong. But down here, this again tells the reader, okay, this is from the same page, right?
Yeah, I had something else in my head, like his terminology, unexpected surprises. You put in quotation marks, but
yes,
if you mention it a few more times in different sentences, you don't need to put in within quotation marks, right?
Nope, nope, nope. Yeah, and again, this is just a sort of stylistic choice. I didn't, you don't have to. I just wanted to show, like, again, what I would say about this to Draga, to Parisa, to anybody who is asking about quotes or Lasana, what to include. If you put something in quotes in a summary or paraphrase, it's like, it's really emphasizing that idea, right? So just be selective, right? Make sure that you're quoting the things that are really important to you because you feel like you can't put it a different way or a better way, or it's one of the most important ideas in that section. I do think that this is one of the most important ideas in that section, right? Because someone could read this and go, well, like I said, people with 5 kids or people who work 10 hours a day, people are going to say like, I can't choose what's in my awareness, man. Like I got stuff all around me, So, but he says, right, he acknowledges that. He says, we can't always choose. Life happens, but when you can, if you can, this can help. And for me, I thought that was a really important idea in this section about intention. What else? Questions, ideas? Helpful to see an example? Hopefully not intimidating. That's not my goal. I don't want you to feel like this is not a student who did this, you guys. This is me. This is like all the stuff that I write for this course, I don't want you to feel like no one in this class is going to write a summary like this, right? But seeing an example of structure this way can give you a template, right, to see. And that's why I keep saying, and then I see Manisha's hand, and then we'll finish up here. I'm not asking you to just do this, right? What I'm asking you when we look at it together, I keep saying, what am I doing in this sentence, right? What am I doing in this paragraph? What's the intention when I put this information here? And that's what I need you to understand about how to build a successful summary, right? Like it's not just reading comprehension. It's how you organize and present the information to the reader. And I honestly think the only way to do this is practice, see an example. See more examples, more practice. Read, practice, look at examples. I just strongly believe after doing this job for so long that this is the best way to do it. Manisha and then Draga, and then we'll get out of here.
Professor, I just wanted to say that thank you so much for sharing this example because it was very helpful. When I completed this assignment, I was kind of nervous if I'm doing it wrong or right. But so after sharing this example, it was very helpful to me, and I think I did at least 50% a good job after
Yeah.
example. So I'm kind of calm down now. I didn't know the way to start and how to like share the examples, but I think I almost did a good like your example, almost, not exactly.
Awesome.
No.
Awesome. Hey, for something you've never done before at this level, that's great. I love that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Thanks.
Jaga and then Fauzi, I see your hand as well.
We will find your assignment like in a supportive material.
Yeah, it'll be in the live support materials for today's class. Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be good for next something new, which is in the front of us, to have something like that, just to help us to have idea how to write it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that, Draga. Sometimes I like to show you the example before, sometimes after. You know me, I am always thinking, I know, and some students very much want it before, so I understand. But you know me, I promise I have reasons. I promise I have reasons. Fauzia, and then let's get out of here.
Thank you so much, Professor. Now I understand what to do. So my question was the same question. Can you just please post this in Canvas that we can access to this? Thank you so much.
It'll be there. It'll be there tonight. Yeah, it'll be there tonight. I am going to put it as PDF just so that you can, it'll be, I don't want you to copy and paste these sentences, but look at it, follow the structure. Yeah, I'll put it in a PDF. It'll be there. Okay, it'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
So the last thing I'll say before finishing up, so there are 2 more things in Canvas that are new, but we'll see how fast people can go, right? So since we've talked about response writing and you've got a summary example, I put 2 more lessons in Canvas. If you're behind, if you're one of those people who hasn't done lesson 12, don't worry about lesson 19 and 20. Please go finish those unfinished lessons. You will have time to catch up during spring break and stuff, but go do that stuff. Go do that stuff, right? So lesson 19 is response writing, but it's response writing about hyperfocus, right? So just like you did for lesson 12, or you will do for lesson 12, here's the prompt. In chapter 3 of hyperfocus, Bailey writes that attention without intention is wasted energy, and that the most effective way to become more productive is to choose what you want to accomplish before you begin working. Do you agree or disagree with Bailey's argument? In your response, provide at least one example from your personal life and one quote from the book to support your response. You should use proper MLA in-text citation. So almost exactly the same structure as Arab past, American present, but just different topic, right? And then the summary, good news, it's not 750 words. It's much shorter. And again, it's about chapter 3. So I ask you to read and review chapter 3 and then write a 500-word summary of the section, How to Set Stronger Intentions. In the paper book, as I was showing, that's 65 through 71. And again, for people who want to see in the electronic version, I'll just show you, it's the header, right? Where it says how to set stronger intentions. 65, it should be close here. It starts right here, right? How to set stronger intentions, and just finish all through that header, right? So you don't need to include anything here. No starting hyperfocus ritual. Stop at this paragraph. So summarize only that section, how to set stronger intentions, page 65 to 71, and it's only 500 words, okay? But again, if you're behind, if you've got stuff to do that stuff first. If you're up to date and you're ready to roll, you feel inspired, you're ready for more response and summary writing, cool, you've got more practice for you there. I'm going to stop sharing and say goodbye, but if people do have questions, I will stay and answer them. But just to make sure I get us out of here on time, I'll stop the recording right now.